Emma Walker was on her knees when the most dangerous man in Miami walked into the ballroom. Not because she had fallen, not because she had begged, because Madison Vale, dripping in diamonds and cruelty, had laughed in front of 70 guests and ordered her to crawl under a table for a bracelet she had dropped on purpose. The crystal ballroom of the Aurelia Hotel glittered like a jewelry box under the morning sun. Gold chandeliers poured warm light over white orchids, champagne towers, polished marble, and women who smiled like knives. The air smelled of gardenias, expensive perfume, and buttered brioche from the engagement brunch. No one was really eating. Emma's gray maid uniform pulled tight across her hips as she lowered herself to the floor. Her knees touched the cold marble. The room went soft around the edges for one awful second. Then the laughter started. It was light at first, a sharp little sound from a woman in pearls, then another from a man near the champagne tower. Then Madison herself, bright and musical, as if humiliating a maid was part of the entertainment. "Careful," Madison said, leaning back in her white designer dress. "The bracelet is worth more than her annual salary." Emma kept her face still. She had learned that skill in hotels. When people snapped their fingers instead of saying, "Excuse me," when men left towels on the floor and called her sweetheart like it was a tip, when women half her size looked her up and down as if softness were a crime. She had learned to swallow the heat in her throat and save her dignity for places no one could reach. Her fingers slid under the tablecloth. Madison's diamond bracelet was there, exactly where Emma knew it would be, shining against the shadow beneath the table. But just beyond it, half hidden under the white linen, was something else. A black keycard, not the silver guest cards the hotel used, not the beige staff key cards clipped to belts and aprons. This one was matte black, heavier than it should have been, with a tiny gold emblem embossed in the corner. A letter. D. Emma's breath caught. She knew that emblem. Everyone who worked at the Aurelia knew it, even if they pretended not to. Roman DeLuca had taken the presidential suite 3 days ago. The staff had been told not to say his name in public areas. The security briefing had lasted 20 minutes and contained only one clear rule. No one touched Mr. DeLuca's floor without clearance. Emma stared at the card in her hand. Why was Roman DeLuca's private key card under a brunch table at his own engagement celebration? Before she could move, fingers clamped around her wrist. Madison's nails dug into her skin. "Well," Madison said, loud enough for the whole ballroom to hear. "What do we have here?" Emma froze. Madison yanked her arm out from under the table, forcing Emma to sit back on her heels. The black keycard flashed beneath the chandelier light. The laughter stopped. Madison's blue eyes sharpened. For half a second, something like panic passed across her perfect face. Then she turned it into outrage. She stole it. Emma's mouth went dry. "I found it under the table." "Oh, of course you did." Madison stood so quickly, her chair scraped against the marble. She was crawling around on the floor with her hands under my table. And now she's holding Mr. DeLuca's private key card. A man near the champagne tower lifted his phone. Another guest whispered, "Is she insane?" Emma tried to stand, but Madison tightened her grip. "Let go of me," Emma said quietly. Madison smiled wider. "You don't get to give orders here." The hotel manager, Mr. Ellison, hurried toward them, his face already pale with fear. He didn't look at Emma. He looked at the guests, then at the cameras, then at Madison. "Miss Vale, I am so sorry." "Emma, what have you done?" The words hit harder than Madison's nails. Emma looked up at him from the floor. "I didn't steal anything." Madison laughed. "Look at her. She can barely fit into her uniform, and she thought she could fit into this room." A few guests chuckled nervously. Heat climbed Emma's neck. But she would not cry. Not here. Not in front of these people who wanted tears because tears confirmed their power. I found it, she said again. It was under the tablecloth. Too big and too desperate to work in a place like this, Madison said, almost softly, but the room heard her. Something inside Emma went very still. The ballroom doors opened. Not loudly. Not dramatically. They opened with the smooth whisper of expensive hinges. And every Conversation died. Roman DeLuca stood in the doorway wearing a black suit and no tie. His dark shirt open at the throat, revealing the edge of ink along his collarbone. 2 bodyguards stood behind him, broad and silent, their eyes scanning the room with the calm discipline of men who noticed every exit and every hand. Roman did not look angry. That was the frightening part. He looked empty, cold, beautiful, in the way a storm over the ocean was beautiful when you realized too late that your boat was too small. Emma had seen him only once before from the far end of the lobby. Even then, the room had changed around him. Men straightened. Women lowered their voices. Staff remembered tasks they had not been assigned. Now he walked into the ballroom as if the marble belonged to him. Maybe it did. His eyes moved across the guests. The phones. Madison's hand locked around Emma's wrist and finally stopped on the black keycard. The silence became unbearable. Madison released Emma so quickly. Emma almost fell sideways. Roman, Madison said, her voice changing instantly. Thank God. Your maid was just caught stealing from your private floor. Roman did not look at her. He looked at Emma, at the way she was still kneeling, at the red crescent marks Madison's nails had left on her wrist, at the card trembling between her fingers. Then his gaze lifted back to Madison. Who told her to get on the floor? The question was quiet. It landed like a gun placed on a glass table. Madison's smile faltered. It was a misunderstanding. My bracelet fell. And she, did I ask about the bracelet? No one moved. Emma's pulse beat hard in her throat. Roman crossed the distance between them. Guests leaned away from him before he reached them. He stopped in front of Emma, close enough that she could smell rain on wool, tobacco, and something clean and sharp beneath it. He crouched. A mafia boss in a $10,000 suit crouched on the marble floor in front of a maid everyone had just laughed at. The room seemed to forget how to breathe. Roman held out his hand. May I? Emma looked at his hand. Large, scarred across the knuckles. Steady. She placed the keycard in his palm. His fingers closed around it. For 1 second. His expression did not change. Then his jaw tightened. Where did you find this? Emma forced her voice to work. Under the table. Behind the linen. Near the center leg. Did anyone hand it to you? No. Did anyone ask you to pick it up? No. His eyes stayed on hers. They were not black, as she had expected. They were dark brown, almost warm in another life. But there was no warmth in them now. Do you know what this is? Emma swallowed. I know, it isn't mine. Something flickered in his face. Not amusement. Interest. Behind him, Madison said. Roman. Surely you don't believe her. Roman stood. The room rose with him without moving. Madison, he said. Yes. Pick up your bracelet. Madison blinked. What? He glanced toward the floor beneath the table. Your bracelet. Pick it up. Color drained from her cheeks. Roman. Crow. The word was soft. Madison's lips parted. The guests stared at their plates, their glasses, their own hands. No one laughed now. Madison looked toward the side doors, toward Celeste Verone, Roman's fiancée, who had just entered the ballroom in a pale blue dress and diamonds cold enough to cut light Celeste stopped in the doorway. Her expression did not break. But Emma saw the smallest tightening at the edge of her mouth. Roman did not turn toward her. He watched Madison. "Do you need the maid to show you how?" Madison lowered herself slowly, humiliation trembling through her shoulders. Her perfect white dress touched the marble. She reached under the table and retrieved the bracelet with shaking fingers. Roman turned to Mr. Ellison. "She is no longer to be touched by your staff, your guests, or anyone breathing inside this hotel without my permission." Mr. Ellison swallowed. "Of course, Mr. De Luca." Emma stood carefully. Her knees ached. Her wrist burned. Roman looked at her again. "What is your name?" "Emma Walker." "Emma Walker," he repeated, as if memorizing it was an act of ownership. "You're coming with me?" Fear moved through her then. Real fear. Colder than embarrassment. "I have a shift." "You had a shift." Roman's gaze moved over the ballroom. Slow and deadly. "Now you have a problem." He stepped aside, giving her space to walk ahead of him. Not dragging her. Not touching her. But everyone understood the command. Emma walked out of the ballroom with the Mafia boss behind her, still feeling the shape of the key card in her palm, even though it was no longer there. And from the doorway, Celeste Verone watched her leave with a smile that never reached her eyes. The private elevator to the presidential floor was silent. Emma stood near the mirrored wall, hands folded tightly in front of her apron. Roman stood beside her. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to unsettle the air around her. His two bodyguards faced the doors. No one spoke. Emma could see herself in the elevator mirror, round face flushed from humiliation, dark hair escaping the tight bun she had pinned at 5 that morning. Gray uniform creased from the floor. Beside her, Roman looked carved from shadow and control. She hated that the contrast hurt. He had defended her in the ballroom. Yes, but men like Roman DeLuca did not defend hotel maids out of kindness. They acted from interest, on leverage, suspicion, or ownership. The elevator rose without a sound. Roman finally spoke. "Are you afraid of me?" Emma looked straight ahead. "Yes." One of the bodyguards glanced slightly over his shoulder. Roman did not. "Good," he said. "That means you repaying attention." The doors opened into a private corridor lined with cream walls, dark wood, and security so discreet it was almost invisible. Emma noticed it anyway. The tiny black domes near the ceiling, the reinforced glass panels, the two men stationed at either end pretending not to be armed. The presidential suite was larger than her entire apartment building lobby. Floor-to-ceiling windows opened to a sweeping view of Miami turquoise ocean. White towers, palms bending under humid wind. Inside, everything was quiet luxury, pale stone, black leather, gold fixtures, fresh orchids in tall glass vases. Roman walked to a marble bar and placed the black keycard on the counter. Only then did Emma see his control crack. Not much, just enough. His fingers pressed flat against the marble, and the tendons in his hand stood out. One bodyguard closed the doors behind them. The other remained by the windows. Roman turned. "That card was taken from my security chief at 817 this morning." Emma's stomach tightened. "I didn't take it." "I know." She blinked. "You know, if you had stolen it, you would not have stayed on your knees, holding it in front of 70 witnesses." His eyes moved to her wrist. "And you wouldn't have let Madison Vale dig her nails into you while trying to explain." Emma instinctively covered the marks. His gaze darkened. She wished he had not seen that. He saw too much. "Then why am I here?" she asked. Because the card did not fall under that table by accident, the ocean glittered behind him. Bright and indifferent, Roman picked up the key card and held it between two fingers. This opens my private elevator, my suite, the service corridor behind my bedroom, and the security access panel connected to my floor. Only 6 people in Miami had access to it. Emma's mouth went dry. Then why was it in the ballroom? That, Roman said, is the question people die trying to avoid. The words were calm, too calm. Emma took a step back before she could stop herself. Roman noticed. Of course he did. I'm not going to hurt you. People like you always say that before they decide what hurt means. For the first time, the bodyguard by the door looked directly at her. Roman's expression shifted. Not soft. Never soft. But something in his eyes sharpened with approval. You have a mouth on you for someone who was silent downstairs. Emma's throat tightened. Downstairs I was working. And now I'm not sure whether I'm a witness or a suspect. Roman walked closer. Slowly, he stopped with several feet between them, though the room seemed smaller anyway. You are both until I know otherwise. The honesty should have insulted her. Instead, it steadied her. She preferred sharp truth to polished lies. Then ask your questions. Roman studied her. Who assigned you to the ballroom? Housekeeping rotation. Mrs. Alvarez. Were you scheduled for the brunch originally? No. I was covering for Tanya. Her son had a fever. Did Madison Vale speak to you before the bracelet? Emma shook her head. She looked through me. That's not the same thing. Something dark passed across Roman's face. And Celeste, your fiancé. His eyes did not change. Yes. Emma hesitated. Roman saw that too. Say it. She came in before the guests arrived. When? Around 9:30. She stood near table 6 with Madison. They were whispering. I was replacing water glasses. What did you hear? Nothing useful. I decide what is useful. Emma's fingers curled against her apron. Madison asked if I was the right one. Celeste said I was perfect because no one would believe me. The room went silent. The bodyguard by the window straightened. Roman did not move, but the air around him changed. It cooled. When were you planning to mention that? He asked. When I knew whether telling you would keep me alive or get me killed. His eyes locked on hers. For one strange second, Emma thought he might smile. He didn't. Instead, he turned to the bodyguard at the door. Nico, pull every camera from the ballroom. Table 6. Service entrance. Elevators. And the hallway outside Celeste's suite. Nico nodded and left. Roman turned back to Emma. Did Celeste see you hear them? I don't think so. Madison did. Emma remembered the socialite's eyes sliding toward her. The bright smile. The bracelet falling later with too much precision. Yes. Roman picked up the keycard again. Then you were not a witness by accident. Emma's heart began to pound. What does that mean? It means someone wanted this card found in your hand. The words settled over her skin like cold water. They wanted to frame me, she whispered. Roman Ischaza held hers. No. Emma. They wanted me to believe a hotel maid stole access to my suite. Then, when someone used that access to come for me, the story would already be written. Emma's knees felt weak again, but she refused to sit. Why me? Roman's eyes dropped briefly to the marks on her wrist. Because people like Madison Vale think cruelty makes them intelligent. She chose someone she believed the room would never defend. The shame from the ballroom burned again. Emma looked away toward the windows. I'm used to that. Roman was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was lower. You shouldn't be. The words were not gentle. That made them worse. A knock came at the suite door. Nico entered with a tablet, his expression grim. Boss. Roman took it. The screen showed frozen security footage from the ballroom. Madison leaning near table 6. Celeste beside her. All pale blue silk and diamonds. Madison's hand disappeared beneath the linen. Then Celeste turned her head slightly toward a security camera. Anne smiled. Roman watched the footage twice. No one breathed. Then Nico swiped to another video. A hallway. A man in hotel maintenance gray entering a restricted staff corridor near Roman's floor. His face was hidden beneath a cap. The timestamp read 816 A.M. Roman-esque security chief stepped out of the elevator at 817. The man bumped him. A practiced stumble. A hand near a pocket. The theft took less than a second. Emma leaned forward without thinking. That's not hotel maintenance. Roman looked at her. How do you know? The sleeve patch is wrong. Aurelia maintenance patches are stitched in navy. That one is black. Also, his card has red handles. We don't use red handles on guest floors because they scuff walls. Nico stared at her. Romanes's eyes did not leave her face. What else? Emma looked back at the screen. Nerves sharpening into focus. He's pushing the cart too high. Real maintenance workers push from the side handle because the front wheel sticks on that model. And his shoes are wrong. Wrong how? Too clean. For the first time since the ballroom, Romanes's expression changed into something almost dangerous in its satisfaction. Nico, he said. Find the cart. Nico left again. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. I need to go home. Romanes's gaze hardened. No, you don't get to decide that. I do when two powerful families may want you dead before dinner. The words struck the air between them. Emma felt herself go still. Dead. Not fired. Not humiliated. Not escorted out. Dead. Roman stepped closer, then stopped, as if catching himself before touching her. You saw Celeste. You identified the false maintenance worker. Madison knows you found the card. If you walk out of this hotel alone, they will clean up the loose end they created. Emma laughed once, but there was no humor in it. I have a studio apartment, a cat who bites strangers, and rent due in 4 days. I'm not exactly built for Mafia witness protection. You are now. Her anger rose because fear needed somewhere to go. No, I am not one of your men. I am not your employee. I am not something you can move from one room to another because your fiancé tried to frame me. Romanes's jaw tightened. For a moment, Emma saw the man everyone feared. Then he lowered his voice. You rewrite. That surprised her more than if he had shouted. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a black phone, and placed it on the table. Call whoever you need. Tell them you reach safe. Tell them you'll be away for the night. Do not tell them where. Then I will send 2 men to your apartment to get your cat, your rent documents, and anything else you need. Emma stared at him. My cat. If it bites them, they'll survive. A ridiculous laugh almost escaped her. She swallowed it. You think that fixes this? No. Roman's eyes held hers. But it keeps you alive long enough to hate me properly. The phone sat between them. Emma looked at it. Then at him. I don't trust you. You shouldn't. Then why should I stay? Romanes's answer was immediate. Because I believe you. The simple sentence moved through the room more quietly than a promise. Emma hated that it reached her. An hour later, the hotel no longer felt like the place where Emma worked. It felt like a trap wearing marble floors. Roman moved her into a private guest suite connected to his floor through an interior corridor. Not his room, though every guard seemed to expect that order, and every guard seemed surprised when it did not come. The suite was cream and gold, with ocean views and towels folded like swans on the bed. Emma stood in the middle of it, still wearing her maid uniform, feeling like a stain someone had forgotten to scrub out. Nico delivered her purse from the staff locker. Her phone contained 6 missed calls from Mrs. Maddox. Alvarez. 3 from Mr. Ellison, and 1 from her neighbor, Mrs. Ruiz. She called Mrs. Ruiz first. Emma, the older woman, answered, "Why are 2 men in black suits asking about your cat?" Emma closed her eyes. "Long story. That little demon scratched one of them." "Good." A pause. "Are you in trouble?" "Mia." Emma looked toward the door, where Roman stood outside in the corridor speaking quietly to Nico. He was not listening, but he was aware of her the way predators were aware of weather. "I don't know yet." "Mrs." Ruiz's voice softened. "Then be smart before you are brave." Emma ended the call with that sentence sitting heavy in her chest. Be smart before you are brave. By sunset, the storm clouds rolled in from the Atlantic, turning the windows dark and reflective. Rain began to trace silver lines down the glass. Roman returned to her suite without knocking, then stopped at the threshold when she looked up sharply. "May I come in?" Emma started. "You asked permission." When entering a woman's bedroom, "Yes. This isn't my bedroom. It is while you re-inside it." She hated how much that answer disarmed her. "Fine." He entered carrying a tablet and a folder. His suit jacket was gone. His sleeves were rolled to his forearms, revealing tattoos that disappeared under crisp black fabric. The ink did not look decorative. It looked like history. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, still in uniform because the idea of changing into clothes he provided felt too intimate. Too much like surrender. Roman noticed. "Of course he did. My housekeeper sent clothes in your size," he said. Emma's chin lifted. "How generous." "She is thorough." "Not generous." "And you?" "I am neither." She almost smiled. "Almost." He placed the folder on the small table. "We found the cart." Emma stood. The tablet showed a service corridor she knew well. The fake maintenance cart had been abandoned behind a linen room. Inside were zip ties, a suppressor, a hotel floor map, and a second black key card. Emma's stomach dropped. Roman watched her reaction. "The first card was for me," he said. "The second was for the service elevator to the roof." "Why the roof?" "Private helicopter pad." "Were you leaving by helicopter?" "I was supposed to after the engagement dinner tonight." Emma looked back at the screen. "And someone wanted to meet you up there." "Someone wanted me cornered there." Lightning flickered behind the windows. For a heartbeat, Roman's face was lit in silver. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. "Your fiancé." "My fiancé." Her father. Or someone using them. "You don't sound heartbroken." Roman's expression became unreadable. "Celeste and I were not a love story." "Then why marry her?" "Ports. Ships. Territory. Peace." Emma let out a slow breath. "That is the most romantic list I've ever heard." "It was never meant to be romantic." "Then what was it meant to be?" Roman looked at her for a long moment. "A ceasefire." There it was. The truth beneath the diamonds. A marriage as a treaty. A woman as a signature. A wedding as a battlefield disguised as brunch. Emma sat down again because her legs were suddenly tired. "People like you live very expensive nightmares." Roman's mouth tightened. Not quite a smile. "And people like you clean up after them." The words could have sounded cruel from anyone else. From him, they sounded like a confession. A knock interrupted them. Nico entered without waiting this time. "Boss." Hotel security just got a call from a woman claiming Miss Walker stole jewelry from the ballroom. Police are on their way. Emma stood so fast, her hip hit the table. Roman did not move. His face went still. "Who called?" "Madison Vale." Emma's throat closed. Roman looked at Nico. "Put the lobby cameras on every screen. No uniformed officer gets past the front desk without my approval." Nico nodded. Emma stared at Roman. You can stop the police. Roman looked at her. I can stop everyone. The lobby of the Aurelia became a theater. Emma watched from the security room on the presidential floor, while screens showed police officers entering beneath the hotel's enormous chandelier. Reporters had already gathered outside, their cameras pointed at the glass doors. Somehow, the story had leaked within minutes. Hotel maid accused of stealing from Mafia engagement brunch. Emma saw the headline before it even existed. Madison had chosen well. The world loved a thief in a maid uniform. It was easier than believing rich women planted traps under linen. Roman stood behind her chair, one hand resting on the back of it. Not touching her, not quite, but she felt the heat of him at her spine. On screen, Celeste glided into the lobby in pale blue silk, her face arranged in wounded concern. Madison stood beside her, dabbing at invisible tears. A police officer approached them. Emma's heart thudded. Roman leaned closer to Nico. Audio. The speakers crackled. Madison's voice filled the room. She was acting strange all morning. Nervous. Touching things. I tried to stop her before she ran off with Roman's private keycard. Celeste placed a hand on Madison's shoulder. Emma seemed unstable. Celeste said softly, I feel awful. Truly. But Roman is under so much pressure, and people sometimes become obsessed with powerful men. Emma's hands went cold. Obsessed. The word was poison, designed to make everything Emma said sound like fantasy. Roman went very still behind her. Enough, he said. He walked out of the security room. Emma rose to follow, but Nico stepped into her path. Miss Walker, stay here. No. Nico blinked. Emma pushed past him. If they are going to ruin my name in public, I'm not hiding in a room, watching it happen on a screen. Nico looked toward Roman's disappearing figure, then sighed as if he had just lost an argument with fate. The elevator ride down felt endless. When the doors opened into the lobby, every head turned. Emma stepped out first. Not Roman. Not a guard. Emma. The cameras outside flashed through the glass. Mr. Ellison turned gray. Madison's mouth opened. Celeste's eyes narrowed so slightly, only Emma caught it. Then Roman stepped out behind her. The lobby went silent. Emma walked across the marble floor in her maid uniform, aware of every stare. A few hours earlier, she had crawled under a table while these people laughed. Now, she walked with Roman DeLuca behind her, and the same kind of people moved out of her path. The police officer looked from Emma to Roman. Mr. DeLuca, we received a complaint. Roman lifted one hand. The officer stopped speaking. Roman's voice was calm. You received a false report. Madison scoffed. Roman, she manipulated you. I saw her take the... You saw her find the card you placed under the table. Madison froze. Celeste stepped forward quickly. Roman. Darling. This is becoming embarrassing. Roman turned to her. The word darling died in the air. Embarrassing. He repeated. Celeste smiled. But it was fragile now. We should discuss this privately. No. A murmur moved through the lobby. Roman looked toward the nearest screen behind the reception desk. Nico must have sent the footage because the ballroom video appeared suddenly. Madison leaning beneath the table, hand moving under the linen. Gasps. Madison's face collapsed. That doesn't prove. The video changed. The fake maintenance man bumping Roman's security chief. Then the abandoned cart. Then the contents inside. The lobby became so quiet the rain outside sounded loud. Roman looked at the police officer. Do you still want my maid? My maid. Emma knew he meant protection. Still, the words moved through her strangely. Possessive. Dangerous. The officer cleared his throat. We'll need statements. You'll get them from my attorney. Celeste's mask finally cracked. Roman. She whispered, you are humiliating me over staff. Emma felt the word land. Staff. Roman's eyes darkened. No, he said. You humiliated yourself when you mistook cruelty for strategy. Celeste's lips parted. Roman stepped closer to her, his voice dropping low enough that only those near them heard. But you made one fatal mistake. What? He glanced back at Emma. You chose someone observant. The attention of the lobby shifted to Emma, not mocking now, not laughing, seeing. It was almost worse. Celeste looked at Emma then, really looked at her for the first time. The hatred in her eyes was clean and cold. Emma understood something with sudden clarity. This was not over. It was beginning. That night, someone broke into Emma's apartment. Roman got the call during a meeting in the hotel's private conference room. Emma was sitting at the far end of the table with a cup of coffee, growing cold between her hands, while Roman's men reviewed footage, maps, family names, and shipping schedules she only half understood. Nico entered and bent to Roman's ear. Emma did not hear the words. She saw the reaction. Roman stood slowly. What happened? She asked. He looked at her. For the first time all day, his control looked insufficient. Your apartment was searched. Emma's lungs forgot how to work. My cat. Romanesque expression changed. Barely. With Mrs. Ruiz. Safe. Relief hit so hard she almost folded. Then the rest arrived. My apartment. She whispered. My things. Romanesque's jaw tightened. Destroyed. The coffee cup rattled in her hand. She put it down before anyone saw. Too late. Roman saw. He always saw. I want to go there. No. I said I want to go. And I said no. She stood. Those are my things. My clothes. My mother's necklace. My photos. You don't get to just stand there in your suit and say no, like I'm asking permission to breathe. The room went still. Roman's men stared at the table. Roman walked toward her. Every step measured. Emma's heart hammered. But she did not back away. He stopped inches from her. If they searched your apartment, they may still be watching it. Then send your men. I already did. Then send me. His voice lowered. No. The word was not loud. It was immovable. Emma's eyes burned. And she hated it. I have lost enough today, she said. Romanesque's expression shifted. There it was again. Not softness. Something worse because it was restrained. I know. No. You don't too. You lose ports and alliances and keycards. I lose rent deposits and photographs and the one necklace my mother owned. Silence. Roman looked at Nico. Bring the car around. Nico frowned. Boss. Now. Emma stared at him. Roman did not look away from her. We go together. Rain fell hard over Little Havana, turning the streetlights into smeared gold. Emma's apartment building looked smaller, with black SUVs around it. Roman's men moved through the rain with quiet efficiency, while neighbors peered through blinds. Emma walked up the stairs with Roman behind her. No one spoke. Her door was broken. Inside. Her life had been turned inside out. Drawers dumped. Mattress slashed. Clothes scattered. Books torn. Dishes broken across the floor. The tiny table where she ate most of her meals lay on its side with one leg snapped. Emma stepped into the wreckage and went still. She did not cry. Crying would require accepting it. She moved to the small shelf near the window, where a framed photo of her mother had been smashed. Emma knelt, picking through glass until she found the picture. Her mother smiled up at her from beneath a crack running across the paper. Roman crouched beside her. Don't to, Emma said. He stopped. I wasn't going to touch you. I know. Her voice broke despite her best effort. That's worse. Rain tapped against the broken window. Roman looked at the destruction around them. Something in his face became older, darker. They wanted you scared. They succeeded. No. His eyes returned to her. Scared people run. You came back. Emma laughed softly. Bitterly. Maybe I'm just stupid. No. Roman said. You re-angry. She looked at him then. His face was close, shadowed by the dim apartment light. For the first time, he looked less like a mafia boss and more like a man trying very carefully not to become something violent in front of her. His hand lifted, stopped, lowered. The almost touch was more intimate than contact. Emma looked away first. On the floor near the overturned table, something caught her eye. A small square of cream cardstock, not hers. She reached for it. Roman caught her wrist gently before her fingers touched it. Wait. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and picked up the card. Embossed on it was a pale blue V. Varrone. Celeste family mark. Emma started. They wanted you to find that, Roman said. Why? To make me think Celeste is sloppy. Emma frowned through the ache in her chest. But she isn't. Roman's gaze sharpened. No. Emma stood slowly, looking around the apartment. The wreckage was loud in its chaos. Too loud. The person who did this wanted it to look personal, she said. Roman watched her. Emma turned in a slow circle. But they didn't search like they were looking for something. They destroyed things that would upset me. The photo, the clothes, the mattress. They left the cheap laptop. Nico appeared in the doorway. Laptop's clean. No tracker. Emma looked at Roman. They wanted me emotional. Why? So ED. Blame. Celeste. So you move against her before you had proof. Roman's eyes held hers for a long moment. Then he said quietly, You think like a survivor. Emma's throat tightened. I am a survivor. The storm flickered outside. For the first time, Roman touched her. Only her wrist. Only where Madison had left bruises. His thumb brushed once over the red marks. So lightly it could have been imagined. But Emma felt it everywhere. His voice was low. Then survive one more night with me. She should have refused. She should have told him that men like him did not offer safety without building cages around it. Instead, she looked at her broken apartment, her mother's cracked photograph, the rain on the floor, and the mafia boss kneeling in the wreckage beside her, as if marble and ruin were the same to him. One night, she said. Roman's eyes darkened. One night, he agreed. Neither of them believed it. Roman's safe house sat on Biscayne Bay behind black gates and thick palms that whipped in the storm wind. It was not warm. It was not cozy. It was glass, stone, steel, and silence. A place built for people who expected betrayal and preferred clean sightlines. Emma's cat, Biscuit, had already claimed the most expensive chair in the living room and hissed at Nico from across the room. Roman looked at the cat. The cat looked back. Nico muttered, That thing is evil. Emma, exhausted beyond caution, said, He has good instincts. Roman's mouth twitched. It was the first almost smile she had seen from him. A housekeeper brought Emma clothes, and a first aid kit for the scratches on her wrist. The clothes were soft and simple black leggings, a cream sweater, undergarments with tags still on them, all in her actual size. Emma touched the sweater. No one ever got her size right. Roman stood by the window, speaking quietly into a phone. His reflection in the glass watched her even while his voice remained cold. No, Celeste does not leave the hotel. Madison either. Put eyes on Verone's boats. If her father moves anything out of the South Marina, I want to know before the engine turns. He ended the call. Emma sat on the edge of the couch, sweater folded in her lap. You suspected Celeste before today. Roman turned. Yes. Why stay engaged? Because suspicion is not proof. And I am. You are the first honest thing in a room full of liars. The sentence landed too softly. Emma looked away. Don't romanticize me. I clean toilets for a living. Roman's voice did not change. And you noticed a fake maintenance patch that my security team missed. That doesn't make me special. No, he said. It makes them careless. She looked back at him. He was closer now, though she had not heard him move. Do you always do that? He asked. What? Make yourself smaller before someone else can. The words struck too close. Emma stood. I'm tired. Roman's face closed slightly, but he stepped back. Your room is down the hall. Door locks from the inside. No. Cameras. No one enters without your permission. She studied him. And you? I don't enter either, even if you own the house. Especially then. That should not have mattered. It did. Emma walked down the hall with the sweater clutched against her chest. That night, she did not sleep. At doi tres prezich, Thunder shook the windows and Emma heard low voices from the main room. She opened her door quietly. Roman stood over a table covered in maps, photographs, and hotel floor plans. Nico and two other men stood with him. On the largest screen was Celeste Verone. She was in the Aurelia's private lounge, sipping champagne as if her world had not started collapsing. Roman's voice was flat. She's too calm. Nico nodded. Madison is unraveling. Celeste isn't. Because Madison doesn't know the whole plan. Emma stepped into the doorway. Everyone turned. Roman's eyes dropped briefly to her bare feet, then rose to her face. You should be sleeping. So, should you. I don't sleep when someone tries to kill me. That sounds unhealthy. Nico looked like he might choke. Roman did not smile. But the room's tension shifted by a degree. Emma walked closer to the table. What's the plan? Roman's expression hardened. You are not part of it. I became part of it when your fiancé put a key card under my table. That doesn't mean I put you deeper. No, Emma said. But you don't get to use my memory and then send me to bed when it gets inconvenient. The men went still. Roman leaned both hands on the table. You think I'm using you. I think you use everyone. A long silence. Then Roman said, yes. Emma appreciated the honesty, even as it chilled her. But not the same way. He added, that's supposed to comfort me. No. It's supposed to warn you. His gaze held hers. I will use your memory if it saves lives. I will use your name if it draws enemies into the open. I will use every piece of information you give me. But I will not use your body, your fear, or your humiliation. I will not make you crawl. I will not make you beg. And if anyone tries, they answer to me. The room seemed to shrink around them. Emma's heart beat too hard. Nico suddenly found the maps fascinating. Emma looked down at the table to break the pull of Roman's eyes. There was a photo of the ballroom. Table 6. Madison. Celeste. Emma frowned. Why is the table wrong? Roman's attention sharpened instantly. Wrong how? The brunch layout. Emma pointed. Table 6 was supposed to be near the windows. Mrs. Alvarez had me polish the window side glasses twice because Celeste wanted ocean light for photos. But in the final setup, Table 6 was moved near the center pillar. Nico pulled another diagram. Hotel events team changed it at 7:40 a.m. Who approved it? Roman asked. Nico typed, then looked up. Your office? Roman went still. Emma felt the room change. My office. Roman repeated. Nico's face tightened. Authorization came from Matteo. Roman's right hand curled slowly into a fist. Emma looked between them. Who is Matteo? No one answered. That was answer enough. Roman turned toward the window. My younger brother. The betrayal did not make him rage. It made him silent. Emma almost wished he would rage. Silence looked heavier on him. Nico said carefully. Boss. We don't know. Bring him in. He's at the engagement dinner venue. Roman turned back. His face was unreadable now. Then we go there. Emma straightened. I'm coming. No, you need me to read the room. I need you alive. And I need this to end before my face is on every gossip site in Miami as the maid who seduced a Mafia boss and stole from his fiancée. Roman's eyes flared. Is that what you think this is? It's what they'll make it. He stepped closer. And this time she did not move back. Then we changed the story. Emma's pulse stumbled. How? Roman looked at Nico. Get her address? Emma's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. Roman's gaze returned to hers. Celeste expects you hidden. Madison expects you scared. Matteo, if he's sen involved, expects me distracted. So we give them something else. I am not walking into your Mafia dinner as decoration. No. His voice lowered. You walking in as the woman everyone tried to frame and failed to break. That should have sounded insane. Maybe it was. But somewhere beneath the fear, Emma felt something hot and fierce begin to rise. She thought of Madison's laughter. Celeste's smile. Mr. Ellison's accusation. The broken frame around her mother's photograph. Be smart before you are brave. Emma lifted her chin. I choose the dress. Roman's eyes held hers. Of course you do. The engagement dinner took place in the Aurelia's rooftop restaurant, 30 floors above Miami, where glass walls turned the stormy skyline into a glittering cage. Emma wore deep green, not because Roman chose it, because she did. The dress was elegant, long-sleeved, fitted without squeezing, soft over her curves instead of apologizing for them. Her hair was pinned low at the nape of her neck, a few strands loose around her face. She wore no diamonds, no borrowed glitter, only her mother's repaired necklace, which Roman's men had somehow found beneath the wreckage of her apartment and cleaned without mentioning it. When Emma saw it on the vanity, she had almost cried. She had not thanked Roman. She was afraid of what her voice would reveal. Now, standing beside him in the private elevator, she felt his gaze rest on the necklace. I didn't ask them to repair it, he said. Emma glanced at him. I asked them to find it. The repair was Nico's idea. From the front of the elevator, Nico said nothing. Emma touched the tiny gold pendant. Thank you, she said quietly. Roman's reflection looked at her in the mirrored wall. You're welcome. The elevator opened. Every conversation in the rooftop restaurant stopped. It was not like the ballroom. In the ballroom, people had looked at Emma and seen a maid on the floor. Now they looked and did not know what to see. That uncertainty was power. Celeste stood near the glass wall in silver silk, surrounded by men who looked wealthy enough to own judges. Madison stood beside her, pale and brittle, a champagne flute trembling in her hand. Across the room, a younger man with Romanesque dark eyes turned from the bar. Matteo De Luca. He looked like Roman before the world had finished hardening him. Handsome, reckless, expensive watch. easy smile that did not reach his eyes. When he saw Emma, his expression changed. Only slightly, but Emma caught it. Roman did too. His hand settled at the small of Emma's back. Not pushing, not claiming for the room. A warning to everyone else. Emma's breath caught at the warmth of his palm through the dress. Celeste approached first. Her smile was perfect. "Emma," she said, "you look transformed." Emma smiled back. "No, just well lit." Madison's lips tightened. Roman's hand remained steady at Emma's back. Celeste turned to him. "Roman, this is cruel. Parading her here after the day she's had." Roman's voice was calm. "I'm not parading her. No. No." His eyes were on Celeste. "I'm protecting my witness." The word witness cut through the room. Celeste's smile weakened. Mateo approached with a glass in hand. "Brother," he said warmly, "you know how to make dinner interesting." Roman did not embrace him. "Did you change the ballroom seating?" Mateo blinked, then laughed. "Straight to business." "Answer." Madison shifted. Emma saw it. Her eyes darted to Mateo. "There. A thread." Mateo lifted his glass. Celeste asked for better lighting. I approved the change. "Is that a crime now?" "No," Roman said. "But theft is." Mateo's smile thinned. Celeste stepped in smoothly. "This is becoming exhausting." "Roman, your paranoia is understandable. But embarrassing your brother in front of guests because a maid—" "Say maid again," Roman said. The room froze. Celeste's eyes flashed. Emma felt the dangerous pleasure of it, then forced herself to stay grounded. She was not here to be rescued. She was here to see. And then she saw the waiter. Not because he looked suspicious, because he looked too careful. He carried a tray of champagne flutes toward Roman, but his left thumb was pressed against the underside of the tray, as if holding something in place. His shoes were polished but cheap. His jacket fit wrong at the shoulders. Emma's stomach tightened. She leaned slightly toward Roman. "Don't take a glass." Roman did not look at her. "Why?" "The waiter isn't hotel staff." The waiter's eyes flicked toward her. Roman saw that. Everything happened at once. The waiter dropped the tray. Roman pulled Emma behind him before the glass shattered. Nico moved from nowhere, slamming the waiter against the nearest pillar. A small device skidded across the floor beneath the broken champagne flutes. Not a bomb. Not a gun. Something sleeker. A remote access transmitter. Nico lifted it with a napkin. Mateo stepped back. Too late. Roman turned to his brother. "You approved the table. You approved the staff list. You opened the roof access." Mateo's face drained. "Roman, who bought you?" For the first time, Roman's voice was not calm. It was quiet enough to terrify. Mateo looked at Celeste. Celeste looked away. That was all Roman needed. Mateo tried to run. He made it 3 steps before Roman's men caught him. Madison screamed. Guests scattered toward the walls. Outside, lightning split the sky. Celeste stood perfectly still, silver dress shining like armor. "You can prove anything," she said. Emma stepped forward before fear could stop her. "Yes, he can." Celeste looked at her with naked hatred. Emma pointed to the transmitter. That device wasn't meant to open Roman's suite. It was meant to shut down the roof elevator. Trap him here, maybe long enough for whoever was waiting on the helipad. Roman looked at Nico. Nico was already moving. Celeste's face changed. For the first time, she looked afraid. The lights went out. The restaurant plunged into darkness. Someone screamed. A hand grabbed Emma's arm. Not Roman. The grip was smaller, sharper. Madison. You stupid cow, Madison hissed. You should have stayed on the floor. Emma twisted hard, but Madison dragged her toward the service corridor. Chaos swallowed the room. Emergency lights flickered red. Rain battered the glass walls. Men shouted in Italian and English. Emma slammed her heel into Madison's foot. Madison cried out, but kept hold. Then a gunshot cracked somewhere above them. Emma froze. Madison used that second to shove her through the service door. The corridor was narrow and dark. Emma hit the wall shoulder first. Madison lunged. Emma grabbed a metal service tray from a shelf and swung. It struck Madison's arm with a sharp clang. Madison screamed. Stumbling back, Emma ran. Not toward the restaurant, toward the service stairs. She knew this hotel. Its corridors. Its blind spots. Its doors that stuck. Its shortcuts staff used when guests never looked. Behind her, Madison shouted, for someone. Emma's lungs burned as she climbed one flight. Then another. The roof access door loomed ahead with a red emergency light above it. She could hear voices beyond it. Men waiting. Roman was trapped below. Or coming after her. Either possibility terrified her. Beside the roof access panel was a maintenance override box. Emma had seen engineers use it during fire drills. She tore open the cover. A keycard slot glowed red. Emma reached into the pocket of her green dress. The black keycard. Roman had given it back to her before they entered the dinner. Pressing it into her palm with one instruction. If doors start locking, find the one everyone else forgot. At the time, she had thought he was being dramatic. Now she shoved the card into the slot. The panel flashed green. A menu opened. Emma's hands shook. She did not know the codes, but she knew hotel systems. She knew labels. Floors. Emergency overrides. Guest access tiers. She found roof service lockdown. She hit engage. Above her, bolts slammed into place. On the other side of the roof door, men shouted. Something struck the metal. Emma backed away. The stairwell door below burst open. Roman came through like violence given a body. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. Rain had soaked his hair. There was a dark bruise forming along his jaw. His eyes found Emma. And for one terrible second, all the cold left him. Fear stood there instead. Raw. Furious. Human. He crossed the stairwell in 3 strides. His hands came up as if to grab her, then stopped just before her face, trembling with restraint. Are you hurt? Emma shook her head. His eyes moved over her anyway. Arms. Face. Neck. Wrists. Emma. The way he said her name broke something open in her chest. I locked the roof, she said, because if she said anything else, she might fall apart. Roman looked at the panel, then at the door where the trapped men were still pounding. Then he looked back at her. You saved me. She laughed once, breathless and shaking. Again, the corner of his mouth did not move. He was too shaken to pretend. Yes, he said. Again. The stairwell door below opened again. Nico appeared. Weapon lowered. Eyes scanning. Boss. Matteo is secured. Celeste is gone. Roman's face changed instantly. The Mafia boss returned, but his hand finally touched Emma's cheek. Just once. Warm. Careful. Gone too soon. Stay with Nico. Emma grabbed his wrist. No. His eyes dropped to her hand. I am not waiting in another room while people decide my life. Celeste is dangerous. So am I when underestimated. Roman stared at her. Then something dark and proud moved through his expression. Yes, he said softly. You are... Celeste made it to the helipad. She stood under the storm with two armed men and a white helicopter behind her. Silver dress whipping around her legs. The roof lights glared through rain, turning everything harsh and unreal. Roman stepped onto the roof, with Emma behind him and Nico at his side. Celeste laughed when she saw Emma. Even then, even losing, you brought the maid to the end. Emma walked out from behind Roman before he could stop her. No, she said. I brought him. Celeste's face hardened. The helicopter blades were still. Locked down by MSS override, Celeste's men looked nervous. Roman's men emerged from the opposite roof access, silent and armed. The trap had reversed. Celeste saw it. Her elegance cracked. My father will burn your ports, she said to Roman. Roman's voice carried through the rain. Your father is being arrested at the marina with enough stolen access codes to make federal prosecutors weep. Celeste flinched. Nico's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and nodded once. Confirmed. Matteo. Madison. The fake waiter. The key card. The roof transmitter. The Veroni boats. Emma did not understand all the pieces, but she understood the shape of the collapse. Celeste turned her gaze on Emma. This is your fault. Emma felt Roman move beside her, but she raised a hand slightly. He stopped. The fact that he stopped gave her courage. No, Emma said. It's yours. You chose me because you thought no one would believe me. You thought a woman in a maid uniform couldn't hurt you. Rain soaked her dress. Her hair loosened from its pins. Her voice shook, but it did not break. You were wrong. Celeste's hand moved toward her clutch. Roman's gun was in his hand before Emma saw him draw it. Donte, he said. One word. Celeste froze. For a heartbeat, everyone stood beneath the storm, trapped between pride and surrender. Then Celeste let the clutch fall. Nico moved in. It ended without a speech, without glamour, without romance. Celeste Veroni was escorted off the roof under black umbrellas, her silver dress dragging through rainwater. Madison was arrested in the lobby, still crying mascara down her face. Matteo De Luca was taken away by his brother's men, pale and silent, unable to look at Roman. And Emma Walker stood on the roof of the Aurelia Hotel, soaked to the skin, wearing a green dress she had chosen herself, holding the black key card that had turned a maid into the center of a mafia war. When it was over, Roman looked at her. No guests, no cameras, no enemies left standing close enough to hear. Just rain, wind, and the city glittering below. You should hate me, he said. Emma was so tired she could barely stand. I'm working on it. His eyes moved over her face with an intensity that no longer bothered hiding. I tried to keep you out of this. No, she said. You tried to control which parts of it I survived. The words hit him. He accepted them. Yes. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. Shivering, Roman removed his suit jacket and stepped closer. Then paused, still asking without asking. Emma looked at the jacket, then at him. Fine. He placed it around her shoulders. It was warm from his body and heavy with rain. She should not have leaned into it. She did anyway. Roman's hands remained on the lapels for 1 second too long. You terrify me, he said. Emma looked up. The confession was so quiet, she almost thought the storm had shaped it. You don't look terrified. I've had practice. Her chest ached. Roman. His name felt different now. Dangerous in her mouth. His gaze dropped to her lips. Stopped. Rose back to her eyes. He stepped away first. Not because he did not want to touch her. Because he did. Too much. That restraint undid her more than a kiss would have. 3 weeks later, the Aurelia Hotel reopened its crystal ballroom. The scandal had torn through Miami like a hurricane. Celeste Verone's father was under federal indictment. Madison Vale had vanished from society pages. Matteo DeLuca's name had become a whispered cautionary tale. The hotel's management had issued a public apology to Emma so stiff and legal it barely sounded human. Mr. Ellison resigned. Mrs. Alvarez was promoted. Emma was offered a settlement large enough to change her life. And she accepted it with one condition. The hotel would fund a staff protection program for housekeepers, cleaners, servers, and maintenance workers who were abused by guests. Roman had stared at her when she told him. "You could buy an apartment," he said. "I can do both. You should ask for more." I did. What? Emma looked toward the ballroom, where new staff moved confidently beneath repaired chandeliers. "I asked them to believe the next maid before a rich woman tells them not to." Roman said nothing after that. Now the ballroom was empty, except for the two of them. Morning sunlight spilled through the tall windows, turning the marble gold. The same table where Emma had been forced to crawl was gone. In its place stood a round table with white orchids and 2 cups of coffee. Emma stood near the center of the room in a navy dress and sensible heels. Roman wore black, as always, but there was no army behind him today. No bodyguards in the room, only Roman. That made him seem more dangerous somehow, and more vulnerable. He held a small black card between his fingers. Emma looked at it and laughed softly. "Absolutely not. You haven't heard the offer. I have seen what happens when I touch black key cards around you." His mouth curved. A real smile, rare and devastating. "This one opens my house." Emma's breath caught. Roman stepped closer, but not too close. "I am not offering protection." "No. No." His voice lowered. "Protection was the excuse I used when I was afraid to admit I wanted you near me." The ballroom went quiet around them. Emma looked down at the keycard. "You want me in your world. I want you in my life." The difference landed like a hand over her heart. She searched his face. The feared Mafia boss. The man who could make rooms fall silent. The man who had made a socialite crawl, canceled an alliance, turned against his own brother, and stood in a storm with fear in his eyes because Emma had been in danger. He was still dangerous. He would always be dangerous. But Emma had learned the difference between danger that consumes and danger that stands between you and the world. "I'm not becoming your decoration," she said. "I would not survive trying to decorate you." She almost smiled. "I'm not quitting my life." "Good. I still don't trust easily." "I know. I will argue. I'm counting on it." Her throat tightened. "And if I say no?" Roman held the card out, flat on his palm. "Then I drive you home, feed your evil cat, and spend the rest of my life regretting that I asked too late." Emma looked at his hand. The same hand that had taken the keycard from her when she was kneeling. The same hand that had stopped before touching her when she was afraid. The same hand that now offered instead of demanded. She took the card. Roman exhaled like a man who had been holding his breath for weeks. Emma stepped closer. This time, she touched him first. Her fingers rested against the front of his black shirt, right over his heart. It was beating hard. She looked up at him. "You're nervous." "I told you," he murmured. "You terrify me." Emma smiled. Then Roman DeLuca, the most feared man in Miami, lowered his head and kissed her like a man who had finally found the one thing he could not command. Buy, threaten, or survive losing. It was not gentle at first. It was restrained. A storm held behind glass. His hand came to her waist, careful but firm. Hers rose to his jaw. He made a low sound when she touched him. Something between relief and surrender. And the ballroom that had once swallowed her humiliation became the place where she chose herself. When they separated, Roman rested his forehead against hers. Outside, Miami glittered in the morning light. Inside, Emma held the black keycard in one hand and the lapel of his shirt in the other. She thought of the woman she had been on the floor. The laughter, the marble under her knees, Madison's nails on her wrist. Then she looked at Roman, whose eyes no longer tried to hide what she meant to him. "I'm not your maid," she whispered. Roman's thumb brushed her waist. "No," he said. "You, the woman who changed every lock in my life." Emma smiled against his mouth. And for the first time in a long time, she did not feel like someone who had been rescued. She felt like someone who had walked through humiliation, danger, and fire, and come out carrying the key.